Oh boy, it's going down. The comics community, mostly the failed or soon to be failing comics community, has decided to coordinate and try to take out a simple YouTuber, a humble YouTuber that likes comics. I wish this story, like, I'm not trying to overhype it, but the more I look at it, what today was a coordinated assault to deplatform a comic book fan. And these are the people that are going to look back in 3 years and wonder how in the heck they lost their jobs because their businesses closed. And they'll blame it on, I don't know, toxic masculinity or something. And they're completely unaware of their own hypocrisy and actions. So what happened this morning is, as you know, I'm a fan of the YouTube channel Diversity and Comics. I noticed a lot of Twitter chatter going on where people were trying to basically dox them. Now, social justice warriors will do this sort of thing. They did it to me when they doxed me using your full name on Twitter as if it's supposed to shame you or something. There's nothing wrong with wanting anonymity, but the guy that runs the Diversity and Comics channel has never really hidden his name. He has publications out there with his real name as the author on the cover. It's just something that, hey, I get it. These people, for example, this is exactly why people want to hide their names, because these idiots will try to get you fired because they disagree with you on the internet or they can't handle your criticism. I noticed a lot of people faux doxing him. I'm not going to, I guess you'll see his name when I go over some of these tweets, but, he's not scared that people know his name, right? But what's going to happen now is people are going to try to find where he works. I've been through this. People have called my work before, try to get me fired, and they all think it's hilarious. Thank God. But not a lot of people, a lot of employers aren't the same. We saw some huge names in the comic book industry advocating for targeted harassment and removal of somebody whose opinions they didn't agree with. I'm going to show you just a tiny bit of what was going on today. So it started out this morning where people are clapping back. Now, it's one guy who normally reviews comic books in his car or in a hotel room as he's traveling for work or whatever. I mean, essentially what these people have found is his YouTube channel is going to be bigger roasting crappy comics than they'll ever be selling them. And so now they're trying to silence him. They see that his channel now, I bet you his channel is going to pass 100,000 subscribers this year because these idiots keep trying to silence him. And we know it happens. When you try to do this, it makes people bigger. It's like they'll never learn. And so they're coming out and naming him and shaming him for having an opinion that they don't like. And another thing that they're really doing is just making up blatant lies. And it starts with, I don't know, people saying, he says his name. This person eventually goes on, hey, I actually gave him 10 years ago for $10 for a Kickstarter, blah, 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 blah. He's primarily a coward and saying his name is nice. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he's not a coward. He's out there putting his opinions out there. They're digging into his past to try to find his old Twitter account. They're naming and shaming each other for following that original Twitter account. This person eventually said something like, I'm going to dig into this. I'm not pre-blocked. There's at some point she says something like, oh, maybe she deleted it. Like, oh, here, 89 of you fans, editors, and creators are following his old Twitter account. A harasser of trans women and POC creators. This is just a lie. This is what the left does. Some people, no, I'm not going to say the left. I don't want to fall into that trap. These extremists will make up lies like this, and then basically what happens is you get judged guilty in the court of public opinion. They never have to actually back any of this kind of stuff up. And it's really annoying. People say that about me. People call me transphobic. Like, I follow 10 people on Twitter, and 2 of them are trans. Like, but these extremists will, like, these crazy people will convict you of crimes that they have no evidence of because they just see it in their head and they want to believe it's real. Then you have this psycho long rant. Okay, comics, when are we going to talk about the troll followers of Diversity in Comics? So again, this is like a common thread, right? You're responsible for everything that your followers do. I've had Jimmy Wong say this to me. I have 150,000 subscribers on my main channel, and I keep this stuff on this channel as an effort to try and curb that, but I really want to upload this video to my main channel because these people are absurd. I mean, they obviously make coordinated efforts to target women who are professionals in the industry. No. They do stuff like this. By the way, this Susan Auger doxed him. And just got a photo of my nephew sent to me via DM. Okay, you'd have to prove it, right? This is what people always say, like, oh, I'm getting harassed. Oh, I'm getting harassed. They never prove it. They just say it, and everyone comes to try and, try to come to their defense. Now, I will say, people coming through, calling someone a coward, that's okay. This is not good. I don't agree with sending people this kind of stuff. I get stuff like this all the time. He's not out there telling people to go do any of this. I demand any evidence of that, right? We know they won't provide it. But what happens is you show people a little bit of who people really are, and they make their own decisions. Now, I don't agree with sending the stuff like this, but obviously he has never endorsed this nor asked for it. She goes on to dox him. There are pros that follow him. Yeah, because they probably agree with a lot of his opinions that you're turning out terrible comics. And you have people completely melting down. Here's a huge long thread about, this is from a few days ago, where Aaron Myers is just going insane about this poor guy. And he's like, oh, everyone that follows him is a Trump voter, mega guy. These people make everything about Trump, Then we have Ron Marz, who is, of course, a verified a mental illness. I'm sorry to hear about that, but I mean, this is a guy, by all means, report Diversity in Comics account to Twitter and targeted harassment. Retweet this far and wide. Like, how stupid are you? This is literally the definition of targeted harassment, okay? If you don't like what the guy has to say, block his account, mute his account. He's not, I follow him on Twitter. He's not all day adding people, harassing them. He'll often, like, retweet people with a little laser-guided salt missile, but just block him then, right? And then these people, one of the other troll can't get a date on Saturday night, keep girls out of my comics Twitter accounts, was banned recently. Make it happen again, right? What he's talking about is they got Captain Cummings, who, he's another kind of comic roaster. They got him banned. Now, he's a little saltier, but, I mean, this is basically by omission, like, hey, we got this other person banned off Twitter. I think we should do the same to this guy because we don't agree with his opinion. And the sad thing is, unfortunately for Twitter, I've seen a long history of them supporting. And he's getting roasted, right? The internet made fun of me. Ron Marz is a bully, right? We have this stuff. I would want to work in a world where grown men walk into a comic store and realize that they may not be the target audience for every single comic book. They have no idea what we're fighting for. We want a world where grown men won't have to walk into the comic store and pay for shit like this. Squirrel Girl. Yeah, it does. It's garbage. But I agree. Not everything has to be for everyone. I agree with that. Squirrel Girl can exist. That's fine. I actually disagree with anyone that would have a problem with it existing, obviously. Look, if people buy it, it should exist. And, they don't buy it. And Marvel and other companies like them like to divert resources to terrible comics. That's their own bad business decisions. But I don't think Diversity in Comics ever has said it shouldn't exist. He just likes to roast it. And Papa bless him for that. It's just, what is next? I mean, this is clearly I can't believe Ron Marz. You know, he'll never. This is like dog whistling to have people false flag his account. This is like what Twitter abuse is. You know, they can't deal with any real abuse. They've got to deal with fabricated outrage. I mean, the amount of comics pros that are like coordinated this assault, I would not be surprised if Diversity in Comics gets banned off Twitter. But what's happening here is very clearly like they're afraid. They know this guy puts out an episode of him roasting a comic book on his lunch break while working at the Sunny D factory, and it gets more views than people will read these idiots' terrible comic books. They know that he's gaining. I should actually look him up on let's just look him up on Social Blade, okay, just for fun. I want to be right about this. I bet you that he yeah. Look at this. Okay. He's gaining about 100 subscribers a day. And he's got close to, what, 10 million total video views? Something like that? Is that what I saw? They're afraid of this. What this is people are fed up with terrible comics. And they would prefer they not be terrible. I don't really see anything wrong with that. But I think this is only the beginning of these comic pros. You don't see like big people working on relevant books getting involved yet, but I don't know. And what they don't understand is every time these idiots act like this, his channel's just going to get bigger. It's going to show more comic book fans who you really are. You're going to accelerate the crumbling of your industry because you act like babies. Instead of focusing on writing your comic books, you're worried about people critiquing them, and all that's going to do is make them expose you even more. I wouldn't have made this video today if these fools didn't act like this. If they had just gone through the day and maybe fired a few salt missiles, or maybe worked on something or posted, you know, news about whatever new book they're working on, guess what? This video doesn't get made. Diversity in Comics video doesn't get made. The other 50 videos on YouTube don't get made. And now you're going to end up with 100,000 views from people all across the world of you comic book pros acting like absolute babies. And guess what? They're not going to run into the comic book store next month. They're going to go find something else to spend their hard-earned money on. When will Marvel and other companies wake up and tell these idiots, if they're going to hire these idiots, get them off Twitter?